it signaled to me that it might be big is that before it even came out, the entire anime internet was complaining about it. Like, they didn't want it to happen. And then it did happen, and they were just like, the only complaint I ever heard about it is like, he's loud and a little like Naruto, so this whole show is a ripoff. He's got a big sword like Guts, way to steal from Berserk, and it's like, it's a completely different show. But like, when people complain about something before it even starts, it has this defensive energy of someone who doesn't want Black Clover to steal the thunder of whatever else is coming out. And initially, hurt my feelings a whole lot. I was like, dang, this is my first big thing. But you know, after a while, you learn to take it on the chin and just be like, yeah, no, I'm here. There ain't nothing you can do about it.
Ooh, I love that.
So my brother is a used car salesman, and he will occasionally text me and be like, thank you, I got a sale today. They walked in with a Black Clover t-shirt, and I went... He also recently, he got a tattoo, and when he went into the tattoo shop, they were watching Black Clover, and they were watching the dub. And Noelle came on, and he goes, that's my sister, and they were like, that's a weird thing. Usually they say, like, that's my waifu or something. And he goes, no, the voice actor is my sister. And they were like, what? So yeah, that always makes me feel good.
Tattoo on them? Did they hook your brother up?
We still had to pay.
Dang it.
I should hope so. That's an artist at work.
Yeah.
That's your sister. We're going to charge you double now because...
She's on TV. Well, we have time for the Q&A portion. We have a microphone right there, so if you have any questions, please feel free to start lining up. I love how you just jumped. You're awesome. You're like, yes.
I've been doing this for 11 years. I have it down to a T.
Yeah.
So what's the most emotional scene in Black Clover you've recorded so far?
Huh.
I feel like I'll start since I'm kind of like
Okay.
For me, you know, there's not a lot of big emotional moments for Fuegoleon. He's kind of there to be the support character and say some badass lines and be inspirational. But I had this really weird thing happen that doesn't happen very often, just the timing. When, so I made a joke earlier about playing a lot of characters that lose an arm. And around the time that Fuegoleon, spoilers, came back after his like season-long coma or however long he was out, and he had lost an arm in that battle, I had to say goodbye to Commander Erwin from Attack on Titan, who was one of my favorite characters I've ever played, and I got very, very attached to him. And I knew his death was coming for like a couple of years, and I was like, it's on pins and needles. And then it happened, and I was like, where do we go from here? And then like literally the session after, like maybe a week after I had wrapped on Attack on Titan, not wrapped, but the last time I would play Erwin for a long time, except in flashbacks later on. And I was sort of grieving that character. I got to come back as Fuegoleon, and he had an arm again. And I was like, oh my God. And so, you know, it's a good moment for the fans because like, oh, he's back, our boy's back, you know, and he's got a firearm, which is so badass. But it was kind of cool. It was like, it's like I get to be Erwin in heaven now, you know. It's like he's isekai into another world, and he's still with us because they're very similar. They're very similar characters in my mind, and they sound similar, strangely. So it was a really cool way. It was like getting to come back as Fuegoleon helped me process my grief over Attack on Titan, which is not, it was unusual, and it was kind of a nice thing. So that was my most emotional moment.
Yeah, Black Clover. So like a lot of episodes in a movie, like we recorded it for several years. And I mean, just as I was recording the big fight in the movie, and Noelle's just kind of going through like her whole like, I was insecure and then the Black Bulls found me and now I have all of these friends and I believe in myself, and just kind of as I was going through that, I was like, oh God, she's me, because like I moved to Texas to be a voice actor and I didn't know anybody. And Black Clover was kind of one of the things I booked earlier in my career, like year 2 or 3. And then just over the process, I was like, oh my God, just like Noelle has found family with the Black Bulls, so have I. Like, I've gained so much more confidence since since I started, just like Noelle, and so I did kind of tear up as I was delivering that monologue. And like, we don't see the scripts beforehand, so I was just like, it hit me as I was doing it, and I was like, oh, I'm Noelle. Oh,
For me, it's early. I mean, there are a lot of great emotional moments for Asta. Like in the movie, the inspiring speech that he gives everybody that's hiding in the cave. There's like, you know, the scene at the very end of the series where he starts to interact with Leva. There's all that stuff. But early in the series, after the fight with Feto, where like Feto is the sacrificial lamb of Black Clover. To my knowledge, he is the only one that has like truly died. This man is dead. And he shatters Asta's arms, and rather than like celebrate the victory, Asta returns to the cave with flowers to like lay on this dead man's grave, essentially. And he is just confused and sad, but he doesn't understand why. And like, he's just, essentially the vibe of the scene is like, this man nearly killed me, but he is gone now, and this just feels like the right thing to do. And I think it's one of the first moments in the series where he drops from an energetic tone to a more, like, you know, contained, emotional version of himself. And it's just the biggest example of the kindness at the core of that character that I really appreciate. And that was probably the one for me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great question. Hello.
Morning.
Morning.
Now, I know we always talk about your characters in particular, but which character, aside from your own, do you feel had the best character development?
Ooh, I love this question. I am going to go first this time because I've got to give it up for my boy Seke. Seke Bronzatsa, the first time we meet him, he picks Asta to be his opponent in the duel because he's like, oh, this weak baby, he couldn't even fly a broom. I am going to whoop this kid and secure a spot on one of the best teams. And then Asta smacks him in the face with that big dirty sword. From then forward, he's like, he continues to be arrogant and crappy until the very moment he's not. And he kind of turns his entire life around in service of like finally working harder, finally being worthy of the title of Magic Knight. And I really love his shift. He stays arrogant, but he uses that arrogance for different means, and I love it.
I really liked and resonated with Vanessa's backstory. I think a lot of people just clocked her as, okay, fan service character, cool, but it's like, no, she has a tragic backstory, and it will break your heart. Not only is she beautiful, but she's also sad. And I'm glad that he fleshed her out. Fleshed out. All of the characters are very fleshed out, but yeah.
I'm gonna cheat and go with Finral because it's my husband in real life. But it's fun. Like it's been fun watching my husband and his relationship to that character change over the years, because he starts off a very comedic relief character, and Brandon, being the actor that he is, of course, nails it. But you know, circumstances change, and you begin to have a more human frame of reference for that character, and so you get to see different sides of him. And watching my husband kind of negotiate that, come home, like he would come home in the early days from a session, be like, oh, that was so much fun, we had this happened, and you got an ass kicked, that was great. And then he comes home and he's like, oh, it was a really emotional session today, like he had this whole thing with his brother, and you're like, oh, and so it's really nice. I love watching actors and their relationship change to characters that you play over long periods of time, because it doesn't happen very often in this business, especially. You know, maybe you might, if you're lucky, maybe get a couple of seasons. So that's maybe in total of maybe 15 sessions you have with that character, and that's it. And he may stay with you forever, but to be with a character for like years and to get to grow with him and bring whatever you're going through in your own life at the moment to the table, especially a show that spans like big world events like Black Clover did. I mean, the world went through some pretty big changes from when we started recording to now. And so we're all in different places, and it's just kind of cool to watch actors change and watch the creators kind of meet the challenges of the new reality we're in, you know, in subtle ways. And so I really liked watching Brandon like have this dance with Finral and how that changed. It's just, my husband is so talented, you guys. I don't know how I landed him, but here he is, and it's been fun to watch him like relate to characters and be like, oh, they're funny, and then he cries, and I'm like, what is going on with Finral? I've got to watch that episode. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so that's my pick. It's cheating, but it's totally valid.
No, Finral's legitimately a really good example of a character that goes through it in that show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You know what's funny is I did a panel with you and Brandon last year, and I did not know y'all were married. And I was just like, after that panel, I was like, they have such great chemistry. I love their energy. Oh my gosh, I love them. And then I found out, I'm like, oh my, meant to be. So I was just like, yep. So, any other questions? Yay! Hi.
It doesn't have to be Black Clover specifically, but just in general, what's one of your favorite lines you've ever said for like either comedic purposes or it resonated with you, or like this character like taught you a lesson? Just like, what's a line that you said that just like lives rent free in your head?
Just a general from our careers in general.
Anything.
Well, that's a good one. I like that.
Oh, I gotta think for a sec. So if anybody's got anything ready, go ahead.
I don't often get to swear, but I did a show recently. It's got one of those long titles. It's like, even though I'm a guild receptionist, I will defeat any boss so I can clock out on time. She got to curse a lot, and I called a man a clown face piece of shit, and then hit him with my big hammer. And I was like, I don't get to do that very often.
That's good. Mine is kind of an emotional story. I was in a show years ago called Steins Gate, which is one of my favorite things I've ever gotten to be involved in. I would be a fan of the show even if I wasn't in it. And I got to work on it as an adaptive writer as well, along with Patrick Seitz, who was my longtime writing partner and is just a wonderful human. And it was just a show that we loved, and we just crafted it with such care and you know, fandom, because we were fans of it, so the pressure was on. And it's a show about time travel and about kind of like what happens if you mess around with time, and it starts kind of lighthearted and funny and gets really dark, and the main characters really, well, all of the characters really go through hell and back. And it's a very, for being sci-fi, it's very grounded in reality. So the performances are very cinematic, they're very geared towards making these, it's just a very, I had never been in a performance in an animated show like this before, where it was like so grounded and so real and so very devastating. And because I was working on it as a writer, it would mean that I would like write a scene, or adapt a scene rather, and then like a week later be recording that scene, and the character is revisiting that same scene because he's gone back in time. So my relationship to the show was very similar to the character's relationship to reality. And so it just got me in my head a lot. I had never, okay, we've all seen Neverending Story, right? Where the kid goes into the bookstore and the guy is like, oh no, those books are safe. This book isn't safe. I wish someone had told me about the role of Okabe, because I had been a voice actor for about 10 years at that point, and had not encountered a character that I couldn't get away from, that I was like, oh, where'd Michael go? You know, that just doesn't happen very often. And so I was this character, and I got so emotionally invested in him, and because I was adapting the show and then so close to the production on so many different levels, I just couldn't, I never really found the space where I could just be me again until we were done after like 6 months, 8 months of recording. And it's very emotionally intense material. And so I didn't have any fail-safes in place emotionally for like weird days. You know, when we've all been there when you're playing a character that really goes through it and it triggers some core memory of yours or whatever, you just get so lost in it that you can walk away and feel a little traumatized. That may sound dramatic, but that's part of the job, right? You know, when your brain is going through something and you're doing a scene, you know, sometimes it's hard to remind yourself that this isn't actually happening. You can have a little minor psychotic break every now and again, as I would learn. And so we did this one scene where this character just has this desperately big scene where he is pleading, like, I won't go into details, but he's pleading for the life of his friend at risk to his own. And he knows it's not going to do any good because he's seen this happen before, and he's just doing whatever he can, knowing he's still going to watch them die. And it is just devastating. And when we were recording that scene, I lost it, and I started crying, and I was like trying to get through the lines, and I was like, I lost control of it. And I crumbled. I was literally in a little heap on the floor. And it was almost, by then it was kind of funny because I was like, when you hear me say I was crying, you may picture like the one tear down one cheek cinematic cry. No, it was that horrible like you've just been grounded. Nobody loves me. Kind of thing, and like Colleen, the director, was like, "Michael, you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, oh, hi." And so she's like, "Let's take a break." I took a break, walked around, splashed some water on my face, and came back into the booth. And Colleen was like, "Okay, we have some decisions to make. We can record all that again now that you've kind of been there, and maybe give you a little more control over it, you know, or." I loved everything that happened and it actually fits, and if you're comfortable with us keeping that, that can be the take. And I was like, I don't want to do it again, can that just be the take? So, all these years later, if you ever want to hear me having an actual Minty Bee in the booth, it's in the show, and it made it in the character. And that was, I cite that in answer to your question, because that was the character I had to be like, oh, I have to, this was one of those roles that like taught me about, I've kind of leveled up in my relationship to voice acting, because like, oh, that's possible, and I need to like be careful and do things that I hadn't really prepared for before in terms of emotionally managing the experience of working on a show like that. So Okabe will always, from Steins Gate, will always be the one that taught me how to be like, hey, don't go in raw next time. Like, have some defenses in place, because it can get too real. So, thank you. That was a great question. I love your question.
Thank you so much.
Nothing near that deep on my end, but Psychopaths Season 3 went many years without being dubbed, but we finally did it a little while ago, and they dropped all 11 episodes at once. And there is a moment in it where Arata Shindo, my character, the main character of the season, he's very much he's a detective that's doing his best in a system that is kind of rigged against decision making in police work. And there's a moment where he has this confrontation with one of the other characters who is very much the Dominator says this guy pops, so I'm gonna do it. And they're like standing in like the rain, and he's just like, why are you so upset about this? This is what we do. And he was like, no, it's not. We take the information that it gives us and we decide. We don't have to be this kind of person. That's why these guns have triggers on them. And I just really liked that line really stood out to me as like a, you know, in a way it can feel like we're all working in a very rigged system, but like if you can find that one little example of control that you can take, it's really important that you do so. And that line just sticks out to me. Thank you.
So much. And we'll take these last two questions, but we'll keep them rapid fire style since we gotta wrap it up. You're good. No, I wish we had more time. Hello.
Hi, Black Clover specific. What is your favorite fight scene in your character?
Anytime Fuegoleon and his sister get into it.
Oh yeah.
I live for those moments.
I had nothing to do with it as a character, but I was directing these episodes. The Julius and Licht fight over the capital city is just one of the all-time greats for me. Like Licht grabbing him with the light whip and just breaking him across the castle wall, and you get this shot of Julius being raked along the wall, and he's just like stone-faced, like it's so good.
I do love when it like cuts to inside Noelle's head and it's like chibi Noelle and it's like, oh my god, they said something nice about me, right? And then just on the outside she's like, I hate you.
Thank you so much. And our last question, hello.
Hello. I'm just wondering, like, was there ever a line in any show you've done where you just couldn't take it seriously, and if so, which one?
Oh boy. Well, I'm currently working on a little show called Hanakimi, and Nakatsu, my character, says just some heinous stuff that, like, I look at it and I'm like, I'm gonna say that? Heather, why? It's like all really funny, it's all really good, but at the same time I'm like, I have to say the words testicular testimonies right now at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday? And yeah, Nakatsu is very hard to take seriously a lot of the time, but I love him so much and I do my very best.
I was in the Junji Ito anime, and the story that they put me in was the one where the brother drinks oil and he gets acne all over himself, and he's like mashing his acne on his sister, and she's like, please stop. And there were a lot of sound effects, and I had to ask them to turn the sound effects off, and I still couldn't deliver the line. So we turned the sound effects off, we turned the screen off, I just beeped in, but it was the most repulsive session. It was so bad.
Early days for me, we were recording Oron High School Host Club, and there's a scene where my character Kyoya, who's affectionately known to the group as like Mommy, and Tamaki, the counterpart, is named Daddy, and there's nothing romantic about it. It's all just like you're like the den mom, and I'm like the dad, the papa. But they call each other Mommy and Daddy, or Tamaki insists they call each other Mommy and Daddy, and so there's a line where Kyoya has to be like, respond to Tamaki, and Tamaki's like, what? What's my name? And he's like, what is it now, Daddy? And I, for the life of me, could not do it without making it sound sexy. I had no frame of reference for how else to do it. I'd be like, what is it now, Daddy? And Kate would be like, no, that's not the Reid. I'm like, oh wait, not the Reid. Okay, sorry, what is it now, Daddy? No, still too sexy. And I'm like, I don't know what to do, Caitlin. And finally she was like, you have to be disgusted, like you hate this name. I'm like, oh, what is it now, Daddy? There it is. It took like 800 takes, it felt like. Because I was like, oh, what is it now, Daddy? Clearly the line is, what, hey, Daddy? Oh, no, that's not. Nah, okay, sometimes my instincts are not there.
Oh my gosh. This is the best way to end it. Thank you so much, everyone. Please give it up for Dallas Reid, Jill Harris, and J. Michael Tatum. And feel free to go see them at their tables.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Up next, we have One Piece.